It's another day in paradise or quarantine, whichever you prefer to look at it as. You guys jump on in here. Chat is open. We'll have another guest, another fun guest, another great guest. We're just rolling on Life Today Live. I mean, guest after guest after guest, and these are great guests. So go ahead and hit share. If you haven't subscribed or followed this channel, depending on where you're watching, go ahead and do that now so that you'll get the notification when I have good guests, and because that's all I have. Not just good guests, great guests. All right, people. So share these things. It really is encouraging during this time. So I do appreciate it when you share it. Again, chat is open, and we are going to have a fun conversation. Right now, live with me, I have the author of a book that will get your attention, especially if you look quickly. I did a double take on this book when it came across my desk not too long ago. Oh, that's not what I want to show you. I want to show you that right there. This is a book called Shut Hell Up, and the double take, well, I think you know what the double take is. It's called Shut Hell Up. It's by a woman who goes by Real Talk Kim. I'm sure some of you know her, you've heard her, you've seen her. Kim, how are you doing out there in the Atlanta area?
Man, I am so good. Just getting better, just growing through this Rona, and loving life, man. And I'm honored to be here with you today.
Well, I'm glad you're here. We can't have any guests on the broadcast show, so we're all right here. This is where we're at. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this book. First, let's talk about the title, because honestly, when I saw it, I thought it said "Shut the hell up."
I wanted it to say shut the hell up, but Charisma wouldn't let me. Charisma said we got to keep it, church holy. So.
Okay. So if that accomplishes it, I'll go with that.
Well, I just think, you know what, I think that we all have that moment in life when we get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I call it my oh hell no moment. Back to hell, devil. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be stuck here anymore. And so this book, man, it just gives you tools to get yourself unstuck, because you're only stuck because you quit moving. So we named it Shut Hell Up. Shut all your mind games up. Yeah, we did.
Well, okay, let me ask you about that, because honestly, just to be blunt, because I think you appreciate straight talk, I'm guessing. Yes?
I love straight talk. Yeah,
all
don't
right.
sugarcoat it for me.
All right. A lot of Christians are going to see that, and they're going to think, there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
You know, she shouldn't be using that language. What does that come from?
You know, I think I was raised United Pentecostal. And so I had long hair till I was like 17, couldn't cut my hair, couldn't wear makeup, couldn't wear pants. You know, we were in that very strict religion. And man, in that religion, I just found so many fake Christians, just so many people that were just miserable marriages, miserable life, couldn't let go of anything, very judgmental. And I just thought, I love that heritage. Like, I love that I was raised with such strong morals and standards. But at some point, we got to get to a place where we stop like going to church or calling into the astrology lines or calling into the greatest prophet and, just waiting for, I receive it, screaming in church, doing our dance, I receive it, and never receiving it because we don't want to do our part. And we will walk through life and we will judge ourselves and we never forgive ourselves. And we make God really in those moments meaner than he really is. And at some point, you got to stop thinking God's a genie in a bottle, and you got to start bettering yourself. You got to start looking in that mirror and saying, I got to help God help me here. What does that even look like? That means, for starters, forgiving yourself. Because most of the time what I found is that people are holding on to that condemnation that the enemy's put on them. They're not realizing that if you go search out the Bible, in the Bible, God used people with the worst past to create the best futures. Those people that can go to hell and come out on fire. And so that's kind of why I'm the way I am. I didn't really get this way until I was 40. I played the game. I tried to be an Ann Taylor when God created me to be a Betsy Johnson. And so, I don't cuss. Cussing ain't in my spirit. It ain't the first thing that comes out of my mouth. But I do have some oh hell no moments. And those oh hell no moments, now we're talking to the devil. We're telling the devil, shut hell up. Anything that's in our mind that we can't renew our mind with, that anxiety, that anger, that unforgiveness, that judgmental spirit, that addiction, that generational curse, all those things that we have the power when we accept Jesus into our heart. We have the same power that raised Jesus from the dead living in here. But we got to put our mind to our heart and focus on Jesus instead of horizontal, instead of social media, instead of Instagram, Facebook, looking for the greatest inspiration. We got to know what God is saying for us. And so I think whenever that, shut hell up, basically it is saying, if it goes against what God says about you, if it causes anxiety, if it causes fear, if it causes you to stay awake at night, we can scream, no weapon formed against us shall prosper, till Corona hits, and then Corona can prosper. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, oh, hell no. That is just that is a time when all of a sudden you just say, oh no, not today, Satan, not tomorrow, Satan. Alcohol addiction might have ran in my family, but it stops here. It stops right here. And I think it's just that, oh hell no moment. That shut hell up is when you are sick and tired of letting your flesh get the best of you, and you're moving forward.
All right, I'm going to shock my co-host Sheila Walsh and say that next time we're on the broadcast show. How's that? All right. We got tons of people. I can tell you shared this. We got tons of people in here right now, and chat is open, people. So we will take some questions here in a little bit. And if you haven't subscribed to Live Today TV, you can see more great interviews. We're here every day on Live Today Live at noon Central Time. So I invite you to come back another day. But we're glad you're here right now. Now, Kim, what you're talking about is essentially spiritual warfare.
Oh yes.
And
yes, sir.
Now, I like that you're acknowledging that there is a power that comes against us.
Oh, yeah.
But yet you also acknowledge that there is a power way greater than that. What is your balance on addressing hell and acknowledging heaven?
Man, my balance is I don't play with the devil. I believe the devil only keeps hitting, he keeps knocking at your door because you keep answering it. I think that our job every day is to realize that if God got off of that throne and got on that cross and stretched his arms out wide, and he created you. If he created you, then he's given you the capability. Like, so many times we do create our own storms, and then we get mad when it rains. We pray for God's will to be done, and then when he gives us all these red flags, we start praying for the red flags to be done, the red flags to get healed. And so I think that, I realize that I ain't playing with the devil. Like, the devil's under my feet. He is a whole #punk, and he got kicked out of heaven, so he gonna get kicked out of my life. Now I believe that thieves don't rob empty vaults. I don't think the enemy comes after us because we're weak. I think he comes after us because we're strong. And the minute we get to that place where we realize that it's going to take us doing something, the Bible says that life and death are in the power of your words, my words, all the people watching us. You can sit here with me and you and get all pumped up and feel like you can go conquer the world. But if you don't do something when we get off here, and you don't know how to decree and declare what the word of God says, which you ain't going to know it if you don't open the Bible, because the Bible is your GPS. But see, the enemy got us not reading the Bible either. So we don't really even know what our power is. If you know what your power is, you don't even play honky tonk with that fool. You know what I'm saying? You just understand, I might have got myself here. I might have created my own storms. I might have married the wrong person. I might have wrestled with this addiction. I might have wrestled with that porn, whatever your addiction is, whatever your flesh is telling you can't conquer. And you realize I might have done it, but my comeback story is about to be on fleek. My comeback story, everybody got a bestseller, but everybody's got a story, but yours is going to be a bestseller. You got to realize, and I think this is the key. If you realize that God created you, and he did. In fact, when he was creating you, he was all you listening, that feel like you ain't nothing, that feel like you on the clearance rack now, when God created you for that couture rack. Listen, Linda, listen. He is over here saying, I need you to realize that I knew before you were ever even a thought in your mother's womb. I was creating you, that 5-finger forehead that you hate, that big old nose that you don't like. When God was creating you, he was saying, man, this is a masterpiece. This one's gonna be a little bit stubborn. This one's gonna go, this one's gonna make some U-turns. This is gonna get out of my wheel a few times. But the key with this one is she gonna come back stronger. She gonna come out with more oil dripping off of her. She gonna take some of these detours, but when she comes back, the life college that she's gonna get and the oil that's gonna come on her life or his life through that storm is about to be the game changer, a nation shifter for this world. And so I think that when we realize that God already knew, people might talk about you, but God already knew. People might write you off, but God already knew. People might walk out of your life when something bad happens, but God already knew. And when they unqualify you, he says, I'm qualifying you. I'm letting, just because that curtain has closed in your life, I'm letting the curtain close because I'm setting you up for the next scene. I'm getting people out of your life through this storm. I'm getting people that ain't your ride or dies through this storm. I'm allowing people to leave your life that you don't even understand that's leaving your life through this storm, because I've heard conversations they're having behind your back, and where I'm about to take you, they can't go. And so I think when we realize that anything that is being released from our lives, anything that we're over here giving CPR to that's dead, we got to get to a place where we trust God even when we can't trace him. And we realize that he has orchestrated every area of our life. And when we feel like we can't go on, we got to dig deep on the inside of us, and we got to realize that God gave me the power to get through this. So I can get through this. So instead of saying I can't, instead of saying I'm gonna give up, instead of saying it's over, I'll never recover, I'm never gonna have a husband, I'm never gonna beat this addiction, I fell again. Get back up again, dust yourself off, and find out what God is saying to you. Stop focusing on what's back there. Stop looking at that rearview mirror and look at the windshield, and you watch what God's going to do in your life. I'm telling you something. The worse off you are, the more he going to use, because something happens when you have walked through hell and you come out on fire. You don't care what nobody thinks about you. You are so making Jesus famous. What? And so I believe it, man. I believe it's in you. And this corona is a good time to find it again.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Reset yourself.
You're listening to Real Talk Kim. She's the author of a book called Shut Hell Up. It is available right now, shuthellup.com. And I have a feeling you're going to want it. And this is the first time that you've ever been on Live Today, Live we're doing right now. And I can already tell I want you back.
Come on,
this is just too good.
So honored.
All right, so let's keep rolling here. I'm guessing that there was some point in your life where you had to put these things into practice for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me what happened that really set you on fire.
Well, you know, I was raised in United Pentecostal, which I love. I got a lot of United people following me. But I was raised in this religion that put limits on God. Really, women couldn't preach, you know, all these things that I'm doing nowadays. You know, everything. I went through a divorce in 2006. It was the first biggest heartache I ever had. I was married for 17 years, married a preacher's kid. And man, we were just both so toxic, because reality is you attract what you are and not what you want. And I ended up going through a divorce after 17 years of marriage. First one in my family, just couldn't keep a man. Just can't. You know, it was almost like I was over here, all these great things. And this is what the enemy will do. The enemy will allow all the great things that you're doing to pale in comparison to the mistakes that you made or the decisions you made that set you back, right? And I found myself at this place where a lot of us watching today, a lot of you out there are watching today and feeling like, how did I get here? You're looking at your life and you're saying, man, I'm 47 years old. I never thought I would be here. I never thought I would be here again. I said I would never do this again, and here I am. I said I would never end up like my mother or my father, and here I am. I said I would be this great example at 47, whatever your 47 looks like, whatever your 28 looks like, whatever your life looks like at this moment. I can pretty much guarantee you that hardly any of us are where we thought we would be right now in life, because of the social media, because of the society rules of the woman's supposed to be 5 foot tall, 99 pounds, a man's you know what I'm saying? All this structure that we hear is the only way to succeed in life. And that was me. And I found myself having to move back in with my mother and my father at 36 years old, man. And Man, when I moved back in with them with my two sons, I was so broken. I had sang on some of the greatest platforms in America. I went to World Harvest Bible School with my spiritual daddy now, with Pastor Rod Parsley, and I
Oh,
met this piano boy, and I was up there singing. I remember coming home from Israel, and Pastor Rod, he grabbed me on that plane, him and Lester Summerall and Mama Parsley, and they said, Kimberly, we see the call of God on your life. We see you looking at that piano, boy. We're not going to bless it. And I'm thinking, well, guess who's leaving? And at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I packed my little Yugo, hit Atlanta, and did exactly what they told me I shouldn't do. And man, it set me up. Everything Pastor Rod told me was going to happen happened. And just unequally yoked, just broken, tore up from the floor up. And we were both so toxic. And 17 years of a lot of junk. And moved back in with my mom and daddy. And I remember one night laying in that bed, and it was a 10 by 10 bedroom. I lost a $500,000 house. I lost my Mercedes. God, my car was this knockoff Bentley, looked like a 300 Chrysler. It looked like a Bentley on the outside, but terrible on the inside. I remember laying in that bed that night feeling like the biggest failure on the planet, thinking, man, God, you will never, ever, ever use me again. In a platform, around a platform, in a church, everybody was talking about me. And I remember that night laying in my bed. I'd never really heard from God, 36 years old, raised a preacher's kid. And I never really heard from God. Like, I was so cluttered my whole life, so just bored my whole life, that I never stopped to really know who God was for me. Instead, I knew who God was for my parents and who they taught me he was. And man, I finally lay there. I remember it was probably the first 6 months I was in that house, and I just laid in my bed depressed every day. My kids didn't have a mama. I was just depressed. My mother was having to help me with my own children because I allowed a season in my life to define my lifetime. And I remember one night laying in that bed, and I said, God, if you're not going to heal this marriage, which he wasn't going to, I mean, we were, and I said, if you're not going to heal this marriage, because we were both bad, then take this pain away from me. And I remember that night, first time I heard from God, it was a still small voice inside of my heart. I realized that God wasn't going to be like, Kimberly, go right. Because I thought he was like this King of Kings, like Hulk Hogan. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was going to like talk to me and be clear. I didn't realize it was that calmness that came when all distractions left your life. And that's when you could hear God so clearly. And I laid in that bed that night, and he said, Kim, he said, because I was complaining every night about people running their mouths about me, and they don't know, they just don't know. And I remember God told me, he said, Kim, he said, I can't take this pain away from you. It's the first thing he ever said to me that I heard. I can't take this pain away from you. You got to get up and walk away from it.
That's huge.
And man, listen, I literally in that bed that night went on a journey with God, like in that little 10 by 10 bedroom. I cried harder than I've ever cried. I mean, joints of my fingers ached. I just let go of a life of anger, a life of rejection, a life of, man, feeling sorry for myself, being a victim in my own story, and mad at God. I thought God should have healed it. And that night I realized that meant I had to forgive. And I was the queen of praying specifics for stuff I wanted, but never listening to God. And I would lay in that bed and go, kill him with the train. I wanted God to kill my ex so bad, because I knew if a train hit my ex, Benny Hinn couldn't bring him back to life. And that night I just started praying for God to forgive me. And he did, man. He did. He took me on a journey. And so about 37 years old is when I really started going on a journey with God. And 36, 37, I told him I was going to give him a year. He ended up taking 5. So I thought 36 years old, my life was over. At 40 years old is when he let me go full-time ministry, because one of my videos went viral of me sitting in my knockoff Bentley, my hoopty, on the side of the road. And I did a video of encouragement, and that thing went viral. And he let me go full-time ministry at 40. And at 42, I wrote my first book, special ed my whole life. I still don't know where commas go. If you go read my statuses, you're like, what in the world is she trying to say? Because I don't have no commas. And I wrote my first book that went bestseller. Started my podcast at 46. That's great, doing awesome. And I've got 4 books out now that are bestsellers, and all within 6 years. So I thought my life was over at 36, went full-time ministry at 40, wrote my first book at 42, did my podcast at 46, and at 47, I realized my life is just beginning. So what am I saying? I'm preaching stuff that I can tell you works.
Yeah.
I can tell you what works and what don't. And
Yep.
so, yes, I have learned. I have learned through it, man. Through it all. Through it all. I've learned to trust in Jesus.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a new book. It's out right now. Shut Hell Up. Real
Yeah.
Talk. Kim. So you guys go pick that up if you haven't already. I have a feeling a lot of you already have. But it's only been out a couple weeks, so
Yeah.
that's new. Let me ask you this. You know, there's obviously when you look back on your divorce, and you know, scripturally, that's God says He doesn't like divorce, right? We're not to get divorced. I could give you a laundry list of the things that I've done that are clearly wrong, clearly sin. How do we get past that in a sense without ignoring it or downplaying it or excusing it? You know, because it's a tough balance sometimes.
Yes, it
Between
is.
acknowledging our wrong and moving past it and just kind of glossing over it and ignoring it. What's
Yeah.
the proper biblical way to deal with the sin in our past?
Yeah, man, I think that, divorce stinks. Like I don't think anybody puts on a wedding dress and walking down the aisle says, I love my dress so much, I'm going to use it 4 times. I don't think anybody does that. I don't think that anyone finds themselves in a broken place and celebrates. I think the key to sin is getting to a place, if you don't feel convicted anymore, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I think that sin, God gives us grace, and I'm just so thankful for grace that He don't write you off just because people do. But here's the key: this is where you're gonna mess up. Grace does give us, it's greasy grace. He gives us His chance. When His mercy meets your mess, He changes everything. I think the key is to start when you walk through something that you know God ain't proud of. You got to put a do not disturb up on your heart, and you got to fix it. It ain't just whoever else hurts you. It takes two for a divorce. You got to get to a place where you say, man, this happened. It does not write me off. But my job is to get better and stop repeating these cycles.
Yeah.
My job is to get better, and next time, if God ever does bring me somebody else, I will be an incredible wife. I will be an incredible husband. I will get better through this. I will use this pain as a crushing to allow myself to fix whatever it was that couldn't keep a man or couldn't keep that woman or whatever it is. I think the key is looking at yourself. I think where we mess up is when we go through a sin, we blame other people for it. A sin's a sin. And when you find yourself in a place that disturbs the world, disturbs your family, breaks your family, you see your chaos and confusion, you doing something because, you're over here saying, you loser, well, you chose him. You know what I'm saying? So you got to figure out what it is on the inside of you that's making you pick these wrong choices, and let God heal you.
Yeah.
And allow God to fix you, and allow yourself to be a testimony of what it looks like to come up and heal, not be bitter, not be jaded, not get married to somebody else God's bringing into your life that is complete blessing in every day of your life, sabotaging it because you never healed from the last affair that happened to you and now you don't trust. Your job is not to fix anybody else. Your job is to fix your heart.
That's right.
The Proverbs 4 says, guard your heart, because out of it flows the issues of life. Yes, it happened. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's so not fair, but it has not disqualified you. And your job is to get better through it. And and get your heart right. When you get your heart right, you ain't praying for God to kill them. When you get your heart right, you know what I'm saying? You're not over here still bitter. You're not over here still stalking them. You're not up in the prayer line every week praying for God to get him. You're not stalking them on Facebook no more. You're learning how to break stuff off of you. So you only get one chance in this life. One, to live this life to the best. Why walk through it angry and bitter and petty Crocker? Get up and start grabbing your life back and just saying, devil, you should have taken me out when you could have. Because when I get my bounce back, my bounce back game's going to be strong, and I'm going to knock your nasty teeth down your throat every day, pulling people out of hell. I will be pulling people out of hell with my testimony.
I think you already are. I know you are. And
Yeah.
Scripture says that heaven rejoices when just one person comes back to the Lord. And so I know you're making a lot of heaven rejoice with what you're doing. I have
Come on,
no
man.
doubt about that.
I
Look,
live for that, to make
so
Jesus proud.
I love what you just said about grace and mercy and sin and owning your. That is so. That I appreciate that. Let me ask you: were there, or do you see any sort of broader principles, practical steps that someone who right now is going, okay, I want to be where you're at, but I don't know how to get there, and I want to own my own stuff, but I'm still haunted, and I want to beat the devil, but
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I mean, scripture, praise. You're a music person, so I'm guessing that's part of it. Talking to other people, counseling. What are you seeing anything that really helps people practically?
Yes, I think you can be saved and go to a therapist. I believe in therapy, man. I think we don't want to go to therapy. It's almost like the corona. Like we got these people that get into the corona and we making them feel like they got a plague. You know what I'm saying? That's the same way when you walk through a heartbreak. It's like we want to fake it. And we don't want to heal. We don't want to tell nobody we hurt, because if we tell people we hurt, sadly, a lot of people, hold you against your past. And so
Yeah.
you're like, man,
Yeah.
if they know I'm going to counseling or I'm on medication, they're gonna really think I am a loser. You know what? If you lose people because you reach out for help, they are not your tribe. You don't want anybody that's gonna judge you. You don't want anybody. Listen, you only get one strike with me, really. Like when you start breaking me down and you start bringing up my past, and I hear you running your mouth behind I can't allow that. I love you, but I'm gonna love you in the balcony. I think what you have to do is you got to get to a place with therapy. Therapy is huge. Get you a mentor. Find somebody in your life that I never had a mentor, because I wasn't really impressed with like women. I wasn't impressed with was so clouded. Get you a mentor. Get you somebody in your life that's where you want to go, that won't patty cake you. Get you some truth tellers in your life that hurt. They're gonna hurt. You might gotta mute them on social media for a minute, because you're like, one step, one day at a time, like just moving, just slowly. Get some people in your life that will talk to you, be truth tellers to you, and get a journal. This is the most important thing I can tell you. Get you a journal. I hated journaling. And when I got me a journal and I started every night, I would cut the noise. And you have to be intentional for your healing. Your healing is not just going to happen. You have to every day be intentional.
That's right.
You have to get up. You got to plan your day. I don't have no time. I'm a single mama. Get up 5 minutes early and plan your day, because if you don't plan your day's gonna plan you.
Yeah.
And you're gonna start out on the wrong foot. I got up 5 minutes early, and then I would make it 10. Then I couldn't wait for that time, and I would write my journal. The reason I'm telling you to write in a journal is because you're writing down your advancement. Every night you're seeing yourself. It's talking about, oh man, today I was really, I just ordered, I stalked them. I got a little weak today. And then in about 3 months, I remember I was like, tonight I pray for God to help me learn how to forgive. And then about 2 weeks later, I said, oh my God, I saw my ex today, and I did not pray for God to kill him. I am healing. Because how do I know I'm healing? I wrote it in my journal, right? I realized I am healing. I didn't pray for God to kill him. I just said, hurt him. Don't hurt him. Just kill him. Don't kill him. Just hurt him. And so I think a journal is so good, because you're keeping a record of what God's doing in your life. And that's where Beautifully Broken, my very first book, was from that journal. And so I think you have to be intentional. You have to get some truth tellers around you that love you, that'll tell you the truth, but will have your back, your side, your top, your bottom. And they are out there. They're out there.
Yeah.
That people that will celebrate you and not tolerate you.
All right. There's some people right now that need to know about your mentorship program. Tell us what you do there.
So I've got a mentorship program that I started in October. Never dreamed in a million years, because I travel 51 weeks out of the year, and I pastor right here in Atlanta, Georgia, Limitless Church in Fayetteville. But when I started this inner circle, it's called RTK Inner Circle. It's only $20 a month, but I do the $20 because I got a free membership right now at Gold's Gym, and I ain't went one time. I realized that if you don't put a dime on your growth, you ain't gonna grow. It's 60 cents a day. Every single morning, I give you that stuff to do in the morning that I'm telling you about, being intentional. I'm giving you devotion in the morning. First thing you need to do is go to my app, open up Inner Circle, and read your devotion for that morning. And then I'm in there about 8:15 most nights in the Inner Circle, on the Inner Circle page. You can't join the page unless you're in the Inner Circle. And I'm just pouring into them, man. And I'm just watching, listen. When I see people getting set free, that's better than winning the lottery to me. Yeah. I wish I would have had a Real Talk Kim in my life to kick my butt. Get up. Get up. What are you doing? Crying today? Get up! And man, I'm just seeing these people take back their life. I'm seeing them breaking generational curses off their family, breaking off them for their children. I'm seeing them boss it up. They're starting blogs. They're sitting in bathroom stalls doing Facebook lives, encouraging people like I used to. They're finding their purpose. So that's a great place for you to start. My inner circle, RTK Inner Circle.
And that is at realtalkkim.com. That's not
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it is.
No,
realtalkkim.com.
yeah, it is. I know. I showed the wrong thing on the screen. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
There it is. realtalkkim.com. So you guys can check that out right now. And I sure appreciate your encouragement. I appreciate
thank
just
you.
your wisdom and your enthusiasm, obviously, and your good Southern references. I like some of that too. That half hour went amazingly fast. I can't believe how fast that went.
Can I tell one thing before I
You can tell
off?
anything you want. I got all the time in the world.
So here's the hope for everybody out there. You know, I told you that I left Rod Parsley's Bible School at 21, went and married this guy, 17 years. I never spoke to Pastor Rod Parsley again, embarrassed, humiliated. And when God told me that night, laying in my bed, whenever he said, you got to get up from the pain and walk away, I'm sitting in my bed. Now, my daddy and mama, you know, I'm pastoring their church now. My mom and daddy never wrote a book. Nobody in my family did. You know, my family ever been divorced. Nobody in my family ever nay-nayed on a bar drunk. I did all of those things. And to look now at God, God told me when I was walking through that divorce and people were talking about me, he said, Kimberly, you live so nobody believes them. And I'll vindicate you. Stop clapping back. Stop defending yourself. And 3 years ago, about 4 years ago, because my ministry started 6 years ago, my offices, RTK offices, get an invite to go back to Dominion Camp meeting with Pastor Rod Parsley.
And you know, I don't doubt that. He is such a great guy and a gracious guy. One of my favorite interviews. I do too. So I'm glad to hear that.
He let me go preach, man. We talk about redemption.
Yeah.
Now I get to go every year. Like I'm going back, 3 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm just blown away that that's how God rolls. He will take you full circle. So whoever's watching this today, let them talk. You might have done everything they said you did, but you're no longer that person. Get up and watch God show out in your life because he qualified you the minute you started getting your tail up and you started telling hell to shut up. You started saying, shut hell up in my life. And now look what God's done. And so, yeah, man, talk about vindication. Dominion Camp Meeting was my favorite camp meeting of all. Every time I worked there, we lived for Dominion Camp Meeting. And here I am, walking in there to preach and crying every time I walk in there.
Good for you and good for Rod Parsley, because I know he's got the heart of God when it comes to redemption. It's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get back up.
Yes.
So, appreciate that. Oh, that is so great. You guys out there watching, if you're not following Life Today, I think you should. Life Today TV, wherever you're at.
Me too.
Because we have good interviews. And if you want to know more about Real Talk Kim, you can go to realtalkkim.com and stuff about the books. Do you have some sermons? Can they listen to you some more?
Oh, yes. I have a podcast out there. Just go to search for Real Talk Kim. I've got a YouTube channel with lots of preaching. Good. Real Talk Kim. Got an app for my phone, for your phone, where I send notifications out of just stuff God gives me throughout the day. Just Google Real Talk Kim and everything will come up.
All right. Sure appreciate you. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. I'm so glad I got to meet you.
Testimony and encouragement. This is great. And one day, once we get past this whole pandemic, we'll be able to meet in person. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, and appreciate all you guys out there watching. That's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. I've got Larnell Harris scheduled tomorrow, Ralph Reed on Friday, so don't miss these great interviews, and check out realtalkkim.com. We'll see you next time on Life Today Live.
We did it!